Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is Manage Comics. I'm going to get rid of that banner right now. It is the Manage Comics Thought Stream for Thursday, November 25th, and we've got a really special Thought Stream today. It is Ask Us Anything. Now, I know it's Thanksgiving in the United States, and so there may not be a lot of Ask Us, but luckily, not only do I have a special guest here today, I've got Taras from Code Elves, but also we've already got questions. This is great. But also I've got a whole bunch of questions that people asked me all week long. There's Jeff and there is Michael. Everybody want to weigh in on who's here? Just give us a shout and I'll try and guess your store. Let's see. Jeff is from the Amazing Comic Fever. Michael, I don't think I recognize your name. I do recognize the name. I just can't think of the store. So and there's Adam from Black Dragon Comics. So yeah, we got a good crop of folks, and a lot of people will have this available. Time travelers, of course. A lot of folks will have this available on the archive. I'm going to send out an email first thing tomorrow. It's our friends at LA Mood Comics and Games. So I don't know if I've ever mentioned this before, but Gord actually hired me for my first comic shop job back at Bid Time Return back in the late 80s, which dates me a little bit. And but I mean, he looks fantastic. So congratulations, Gord, on all your success. Something for the geek end. So this store in the UK. Welcome, guys. And why don't we just jump on and get in here and start talking. I'm going to start with this question. Any thoughts on how best to onboard existing pull list customers? So Michael, just out of curiosity, are your customers with like the previews pull box kind of thing? If so, yeah, I've got some ideas because we've been doing this for quite a while with Managed Comics Classic. I actually have a little flyer that we created for Classic. I don't know why I didn't think to create one for this, but we could totally do that. So your guys are pen and paper only. Super simple. So right now, you'll add them into your system and then just let them know as they come in. So yeah, we've got flyers that we've created in the past, and we could definitely kind of update those for this. And then they just log onto your website and they can manage their own list. So once they have an account, they just basically have to claim it. So if you put email address in, then they would claim it. So you may need to do a little bit of work with them in store the first time just to kind of get them in there. But once they're in there, then they'll start getting email updates and things like that. So yeah, that's a great question. We will do a little more work with our my light's so dark today. I don't know what's going on. It must just be too low. There we go. That's better. We'll do some more work with this over time. Oh no. I've made a terrible mistake. I should not have messed with that. Now I've got sorry. Oh no. What have I done? Okay, we'll just leave it back there the way it was. All right. Never mind. Oh, what a mess. Okay, so yeah, I'll actually write a blog post on kind of an onboarding sequence, which is a great idea. Let me jump into some of our questions that we've got. So I'll start out with a couple of kind of housekeeping items. So as usual, we'll do development update. We'll do our Ask Me Anything, and then we'll talk about it next time on the Thought Stream. Quick development update. We're just going through final QA with a bunch of improvements. The guys have made a ton of great improvements this last couple of weeks. We basically refactored the entire way that pulls get generated. And now we're actually using proper items in your store. It threw us for a loop yesterday, and we did a lot of work, Taras and I, just kind of behind the scenes conceptualizing how to make this work the best way. Things that you would expect Shopify would let you do aren't necessarily happening, so we had to do some finagling there. I also added a tile to the Shopify point of sale, which I'll actually see if I can show that to you right now. I just have to change the screen that I'm showing. Let me share this instead. So this is actually a live point of sale right now. So I can go into Manage Comics QA, which is just our Manage Comics tile for the point of sale. Takes a couple seconds to load up, but it's fairly snappy. From there, I can get into customer lists. I can add things to a customer's list fairly easily. So I'll just go through and like do Batman's always safe, right? So I'll search for Batman. We find the latest issues. I can add that as a subscription to that gentleman, and it's really kind of that quick. If you had your pulls here, you could actually move those over. I haven't actually tested this out fully, so this is kind of dangerous to be testing in a live environment. Oh, I haven't done pulls on this account, so that's why. Once I did my pulls, then I'd be able to actually pull them over into the point of sale. So that's all kind of working now, and we'll be doing more work on the actual views that you get out of the tile on the point of sale, just because they're not quite kind of iOS friendly yet. So we'll do some kind of view updates in the next little while. Let me just stop that and get back to my fun. It would be nice if these were kind of quick keys. The other thing is that Taras and his guys will do a quick little fix for me. I've identified what we need to do for Store 2.0. So I think it's relatively simple. I'll ask Taras when he's around whether or not what I've said is relatively simple. I think it should be fairly easy though. We will see. But I'm actually going to recommend that stores consider transitioning to Online Store 2.0. It's so much faster. Like I've noticed massive improvements in speed. I like kind of some of the options that you have for filtering, and I'm going to do some investigation into the meta tag filtering because I think that will let us do some really deep like genre filtering and things like that, which we can't do right now. But that will be coming down the road a little bit. So for now, though, getting onto Online Store 2.0 will be a huge benefit for you just because it's faster, it's a better system, and I'm really impressed by it so far. Let's get to questions and answers. And as always, you guys can throw questions at me at any point. Taras, give me a thumbs up if you want to come in right now. Oh, he's giving me a thumbs up. All right, I'm gonna bring Taras in, and we'll talk for a second here. Here we go. This is our chief developer, Taras, whose company Code Elves helps us out a ton. How's it going, Taras? Oh, I can't hear you. You're muted. Did I mute you? No, you've muted you.
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
There we go. So Taras and I talk pretty much every day. I don't think either one of us expected that would be the case. That's our lives now. Yeah, so I've got a bunch of questions from the audience. Let me ask you, first of all, am I crazy about the Online Store 2.0 stuff? Does it look that scary to you?
Don't think so.
Okay.
Based on what you said, it should be pretty straightforward, but we'll see.
I didn't even lie. See? Okay, first question from Nisha from Comic Warriors. Nisha asked a bunch of questions. I kind of peppered them throughout here. We had about 4 people ask us a ton of questions, so I've peppered them throughout the questions and answers here. Nisha asks, are discounts applied to the full transaction or are they individual items? Taras, you want to answer this before I do?
Let me try. Damn, you put me on the spot here. I believe it's individual.
Yeah,
so
it is.
Every
Absolutely.
line item gets its own discount.
Yeah. So individual items get a discount. Now on the actual invoice itself, a customer sees the price and they may see like kind of an adjustment. The reason is if you put up let's say it's a $5 comic and you put it onto your store for $5, the customer would see $5 minus their 10% discount. But let's say you put it on the store for 10% off. So yeah, $5 comic is $4.49. That's right, right? I think my math is right. And if the customer gets a 10% discount, they're going to actually see, we're going to adjust that price. Are we adjusting that price? I can't remember. We did this last night.
Yeah.
I think we adjust the price to the original price and then we discount it off the original price. So we're saving the
just
original
temporarily.
price. Yeah, temporarily.
Yeah.
So we're saving that original price in Managed Comics so that we can apply it. So if you offer a 20% discount on that thing, but the customer subscribed to it at a 10%, we actually jack the price back up to its original, discount at 10%, and then reset it in your store. It's a little bit convoluted, but it's the fair thing to do, and it's the thing that makes the most sense. Question, I don't have a name on this one, was what distributors do you support? So right now we support fully Lunar, Penguin Random House, and Diamond Comics. So what that means is we do initial orders and FOC orders for those distributors completely. We will add more distributors as we develop relationships with more folks. I'm not sharing my screen. So you guys aren't even seeing my little robotos. Man. Quick question here. Adam asks, when importing the invoices, does it make the items live at the time of import? How are we handling that right now, Taras? Because we save them until Wednesday, right?
We do. But
Yeah,
I believe in our roadmap, we have a task to allow you to specify when that product should be available in the store.
That's right. So right now, by default, they go live on the store at midnight of Wednesday. So like 12 o'clock Wednesday morning. We are adding a function where you can actually kind of determine what time that is. But you can also, after you do this import, you can actually go into your settings in the actual product. And I'll show you this in a totally different thing later. And you can choose what to show online and what not to show online. So yeah, good question, Adam. Thanks. All right, back to our regularly scheduled questions. Can we delay online sales? Look at that. The timing couldn't be more uncanny. So the answer to that is in the bulk product editor, you can search by release date tags. So we recommend that you add a release date to everything that you import in. And then you can add the available to online store column, which is a column in the bulk editor. And you can either simply uncheck everything so that it's not available in the online store and it's only available in your point of sale, or you can actually say publish it at a specific time. So you could publish this on like Friday at midnight, let's say, or Saturday, I guess, at midnight. Because I know some stores don't like to have things online for the first few days. So it's a real simple process after all the products import for you just to change that date. Like Taras said, we will change that in the future so that you can do that through the Managed Comics API. Next question. How will integration with BinderPause work on both the point of sale and with the Shopify theme? So this is a slightly complicated question. Right now, we're working with the BinderPause regular theme. So this is actually an example of a regular Binder POS theme. And it works fine. The premium theme has a couple little tweaks that one of our recent customers has shown me. So we'll figure out what the CSS kind of tweaks for those are, and we'll just add those. The point of sale is currently in testing. We are expecting an environment, like a dev environment, for us to test some things in. According to BinderPause, everything should work fine because we're using draft orders and they support the draft order process. So we'll see once we get that. Question from Nisha at Comic Warriors. Some covers and artists are not accurate. Is this something that's being worked on? So data has been a real challenge, especially this last month. We'll be working on a bunch of data updates post-launch of this stuff. There's a whole bunch of things that I want to do where we'll go out and fetch data that changes constantly. Right now, it's a real manual process, and sometimes it just the files don't quite do the things we want them to do. So yeah, we'll be working on this. Images are a real challenge. Like right now, the current catalog, the December catalog that was just released on Wednesday, is missing images for 3/4 of the publishers. So we're kind of waiting to upload that catalog until we get more images. But Diamond's just going through a lot of challenges after their recent hack, and yeah, that's what's taking so long. How easy it will. So this is from Patrick at Challengers Comics and Conversation, and he asked, "How easy will it be to take something out of thin air and put it into the system?" So it's super easy. When you do a check-in, which is right now it's called pulls, but we're changing the verbiage of that to say check-ins. When you check in products, you can just search by publisher, code, ISBN, or title. So I tried this last night, and I literally pulled off the back of my shelf a copy of Brian Lee O'Malley, London, Ontario's own, Seconds, and I plugged the ISBN in, and Managed Comics found it, and it had the image and everything, and so I just hit import, and the product got created with all the stuff that it needs. So yeah, it's that simple. Now, follow up, what if it doesn't exist in our database because it's something that you carry, which we don't have in the database for whatever reason? So we've got a super slick little form that you fill in, and our system builds the product for you. That product now is in the system for everyone. We do have an admin function where we actually check all those things and make sure they're good, and not just, bad products going into the system. So we'll check them, make sure they're not a duplicate, clean them up if they are a duplicate, so that then, like, there may just be a reference code that was missing, and we'll take care of that. Dal from Challengers Comics and Conversation says, "Can a customer see their history of subscriptions?" So I should clarify that Dal didn't actually ask this question. He was talking on his podcast this weekend, and one of the things that he was saying was, I don't know if a customer can see, their history and things. Good news. So this is actually from Managed Comics Classic. The reason I'm showing this instead of a current thing is because I blow out my orders every time that I go through and test things. So I can't show you on the live site, but this is actually my account from Managed Comics Classic, which shows you every order that I've ever placed, going all the way back to November 2015. Shopify also has a previous orders system that displays their previous orders on the customer end as well. So that will be there too. Chris from Excalibur Comics asks, when are things available for customers to order? So the new catalog goes up as soon as the distributors make the data available. We have Lunar data available right now. All of December's data will be up by tomorrow. I'm literally going through with a fine-tooth comb to make sure that it's all good, because it's been pretty kind of nasty recently. So we're just tweaking it a little bit. Question was, can we import from RMS, RMH into Shopify? From Chris from Excalibur Comics. So you can import your products from GeekFetch and then import those products into Shopify. However, there's also an application called Octopus that will do this from RMH. I think it's $99 a month, but you'll only need it for 1 month. So honestly, that is a dirt cheap solution for what a pain this can be. The guys at Challengers have used this before, so I'll ask them how successful that was and if there were any kind of headaches getting it set up. But I mean, that looks like a fairly good option to me. We also had a question from Chris of, we have created a ton of barcodes for products around the store, bag and board combos, back issues, etc. Will those work with Managed Comics? Great question. And I don't know, to be honest. It would depend on how those barcodes are generated and what numbers they are. As long as they're avoiding like the 978s at the beginning, I think it should be okay. But we would really need to see some examples to see how they work. Question here is it possible to run Shopify POS off of a Mac or some other device that could use wired peripherals? So the answer is no, unfortunately. BinderPause does run off of a PC, but Shopify's point of sale runs off an iOS device. If you use their Lite Shopify POS, you can use an existing iOS or Android smartphone or tablet, But for the Pro, which is I think $79 a month, you have to use an iPad specifically. I think you probably use a phone, but you just wouldn't get as much use out of it. You can also purchase additional card readers, cash drawers, and receipt printers on the Shopify website. Mitchell Davies at All Star Comics asks us, where can I find more? So managedcomics.com has all your Managed Comics information. You can check out our YouTube channel, and you can always email us at help@managedcomics.com. That's all the questions that I had brought in. There were a few others that I was hoping to get some clarification on before we went live. One of them was, is it possible to export things out of our system? Right now, we've kind of got limited export functionality, but it's definitely things that are on our roadmap to get done. Those are probably relatively easy to get done sooner than later. So we'll just kind of readdress all of our backlog in the next few days. Tross, you got anything you want to talk about?
I'm not sure. Do you have anything?
How are you feeling about the system these days?
I think it's much better than the classic.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's more powerful.
I love like the front end, just like looking through covers and stuff like that. There's still a lot of stuff to be done with the data, but I think that's kind of the next thing that we'll tackle is just the data is out there. It's a matter of really like kind of fetching and updating it continually to get it looking good.
Something you mentioned is actually like my issue with Managed Comics 2.0. Like I lose too much time just browsing through covers now.
I know, right?
It just looks so good.
I know. That's the best thing when you get on like a publisher that has great covers. It's so much fun to just flip through. Yeah, the beginning of the month is always a bit of a time sink for me when I'm walking through all the different covers because I have to check them all. Yeah, no, I'm really happy with it. I think it's such an improvement over 1.0, and really the fact that we've turned this thing around so quickly, even though it's a few months later than we thought it would be. Man, we didn't get started until like May, and then we didn't get approved until like August, September. So yeah, it's pretty exciting. So Jeff asked me, when will it be ready to go? Taras and I are literally doing testing right now. So by next week, I think, I'm crossing my fingers, but I think next week we should be kind of turning the system on fully. Eh? Don't you think, Taras?
I'm hoping.
So
I'm hoping sometime next week. Yes.
Our goal is to like kind of slowly roll folks out. We're going to really focus on a January 1, like hard launch. Just because this isn't really the time for people to be bringing people to be adding new systems to stores for a lot of you guys. So we understand that. If you go live next week, what's the timeline for bringing the waitlist on board? So what we'll do is we'll kind of look at the waitlist from earliest to latest, and I'll be sending out emails in batches of probably like 20. Asking folks if they're ready to get on. If you are, then we'll schedule kind of an onboarding call depending on how big and voracious that list is. I may do kind of like mass onboardings, or we may just kind of just block off 30 minutes a day. It literally, so I've done this in the past with people. If I do it with you, it will take us about 30 to 40 minutes. If I let you do it on your own, I usually spend about 40 minutes afterwards helping troubleshoot questions and stuff. So I think it actually makes more sense for us just to kind of do a quick phone call and walk through things. And Gord, I'll just come down to LA Mood because y'all are just half an hour away from my house. So that's not a big deal. Yeah, good question. So we'll be kind of looking from the early. If you really want to get in there sooner, just send me an email and we'll talk through. Because if, like I said, I'm going to be sending out emails and then people will be responding. So if people respond before I even get out there, you guys that come to this thing every week are kind of on the priority list just because you're here all the time. So there you go. And if you're watching this in the archive later, you're in the priority list too. You know, you just got to reach out. Help@managecomics.com is where you go. Tross, what do you think? Has this been a pretty fun project?
I believe so. If only Shopify was not throwing, roadblocks in front of us over and over, it would be easier. But I guess those were fun challenges to have.
That's the thing, is that Shopify has an API, but it's super limited. So like we assume that we can do things, and then we start kind of delving down that road, and you find out, no, you can't actually do that thing, or there's a limitation on how you can implement that thing, or there's just an arbitrary decision that they've made at some point. I mean, a perfect example is the way that they handle tax exemptions on stuff. And you have to actually create a manual collection, and then you have to add stuff to a manual collection, which makes zero sense to me at all. Because if you just had an automated collection and said, if this product has this tag, 5% taxes, for example, then apply this rule to it, it would make total sense. And that's the way that Shopify used to work. Like a couple of years ago, they had that in place, but they removed it for this manual nonsense, which I don't get. Like, it seems really dumb.
Yeah, and it's like, the fact that you and me, when coming up with a solution, we use the user interface to see what's available there. So we come up with items like, let's reserve items on the shelves before we add them to the order and things like that. But then developers go in and it's like, yep, not available in the API. They just don't make it available.
Yeah, that's a great example. So what you would expect is that I get 100 copies of Batman and I can reserve 40 of them and then do whatever I want to with those reserved copies. Well, if you actually go in and add those through Shopify itself, you can actually reserve a quantity of those to not be sold. But you can't do that through the API. So we can't just kind of make that happen, which is ridiculous. And it's all these little learning curve things. And some of them changed recently. Like when they launched Shopify 2.0, they changed vast swaths of the entire process. And I know they were probably sending out updates at points, but they send out 500 freaking emails a week. So who can keep track of all that stuff? So at some point I missed some of the stuff about 2.0 changing the way that some of the things that we've tied into work. And I mean, they're not huge things, but it gave me a heck of a shock when we added a store that was using the 2.0 theme, and we kept getting 500 errors that were bombarding my phone constantly because that particular store didn't work. And then I figured out what the reason was. So yeah, it gets frustrating sometimes. That said, I think this is such a better system that I'm really excited about it. And I think it's a better system for stores too, which I think is the big thing. It'll help you guys to sell in the winter months. It'll help you guys to sell, more stuff remotely. And really the end game here is selling more product. Anybody else have any questions? Because I think we're gonna wrap it up early for our Thanksgiving Thanksgiving edition. I think most of the folks that are here, unless I miss my guess, are all Canadians or UK. Michael, I'm not sure where you are with time travelers. I think you're in Texas. Michigan. Okay, cool. Oh yeah. We just talked recently. That's right. Right. Yeah, you're not too far away from us. Go on a road trip to us if we're ever allowed to cross the border again.
Wait, you're not allowed yet?
No, we are. I think as of the 30th, we can go. If you go now, you have to get a PCR test, PCR test to come back. But after the 30th, oh, Black Dragon Comics, you guys are in California. For some reason, I thought you were in Calgary. There you go. I've only looked at the first 3 letters of your state. So awesome. Well, happy Thanksgiving to all of our American friends. And next week we are going to talk. We're going to talk onboarding, how we onboard stores. So I was going to talk about onboarding stores. I will make sure that I add how to onboard your customers as well to that, and we'll do that. That sounds fun. Tross, you want to say anything before we wrap it up?
Got nothing.
Thanks for all your work, Tross. You're awesome, and
very welcome.
Really appreciate everything you've done. All right, folks, that's going to wrap it up for this week, and we will see you next week. Same Manage Comics time, same Manage Comics channel. And here we go. See you guys.